Hi, everybody, and welcome to Be in the Know, Table Games and More. And tonight I'm very excited to have as my guest, I would say, author, trainer, and professional, professional level card counter, Colin Jones. Colin, welcome to Be in the Know.
Thanks for having me.
So, Colin, first I'm going to give you my opinion on card counting because this varies among casino guys, uh, but I see card counters as nothing more than a highly skilled player and somebody who's really put in the work. Anybody that got that word highly skilled or professional level, they put in the work to become that whatever their skill is. Card counting especially is very hard. When I was a child, which I'm no longer a child, but when I was a child, I attempted it. And I did very well for several months. And then I hit a 3-week streak and I just couldn't handle the emotional part of it. And that's one thing that people just don't realize how many factors are involved. So kudos to you and kudos to anybody that can do it. What I also take offense to is the word AP is kind of broadly used. They loop certain other types of activity. Actually, you could call somebody with a basic strategy card an advantage player because they're actually taking the house advantage down if they follow that card perfectly. So I'm curious, Colin, how did you get started in card counting?
Yeah. I studied math in college, graduated, and I was actually volunteering at a Bible camp that I'd grown up going to. And a guy that I knew there, he was volunteering also. And he's like, "Hey, Colin, you're a math guy. Check out this book I'm reading." And it was Professional Blackjack by Stanford Wong. And he highlighted some chapters and he said I should check it out. And I read it. And Wong's book is all math, written by a mathematician. And it seemed pretty straightforward. I'd never been in a casino, never played blackjack. And that person ended up being who we got into it. We played together. We had a team that won about $500,000, and then we ended up starting a larger team that won about $3.5 million over the course of 6 or 7 years. And that kind of the rest was history.
So and by the way, folks, Stanford Wong is not an Asian guy. I mean, yeah. Okay. So anyway, I'm sure Blackjack Apprenticeship keeps you very busy. I know I had to wait for you to get some free time to do this vlog. But do you count, Colin? I know you said something in one vlog that you and I think Steve Bridges went out and tried it. So you must still go out once in a while.
Once in a long while, it's not what I'm doing. I mean, it's not what I've been doing for a long time. I played a ton for a couple of years and then ran teams. And when I was running teams, I didn't play a whole lot. And then when I started Blackjack Apprenticeship, I've got kids. I've got a lot of kids and I like being home with them, and working online provides that. But every once in a while I'll get the itch, or I'll want to check something out, or I'll hear about something and I'll go check out some conditions in a casino.
So I worked at Rivers, Philadelphia for about a year. And it used to amaze me, Tommy Highland lived very close to there. And he would come in all the time and he would get playtime. He really would. I mean, it would take, if the right guy wasn't on the shift, he would, get identified 20, 30, 40 minutes into his play. And I think that's the case all around. You can go to places and not even get noticed. Is that true?
Yeah. I get noticed, and I can also not get noticed. Some of it depends how much money I'm betting, or it depends where I'm at, or I don't go out of my way to disguise myself, but I might put a little effort into looking a little bit less like I do online.
Well, it's funny. I don't think there's as much cover play as there used to be. Now, granted, a casino guy like me, I'm going to spot you. Or some of our surveillance team is pretty handy as far as that goes. But I don't think there is as much cover play in counting blackjack. I think people know they only got a limited time and they go for it. Am I just imagining that, or is that something that is really true out there.
Yeah, well, I would say that in my experience in the last 10 years, casinos, once they see someone moving bets, they don't take the time to really evaluate how good a player is. And so that means that casinos are backing off all sorts of people that probably don't have a winning game. I mean, I see it quite a bit. Or I'll train someone and they'll be like, oh, I got backed off here and there. And they're far from a winning player. Well, that also means that the whole point of cover plays is to throw the casino off. But if the casino's not really analyzing a player in a very sophisticated way, then you're just wasting money. You know, they're gonna, you know, I had some friends, they're card counters, and they saw a guy get thrown out just because he won 50,000. He was a terrible blackjack player. And so I think for card counters, it's like the cover plays aren't going to be the difference. The casino's going to back you off or they're not. So why bother? Why give up part of your very small edge anyway? I think if it's a more sophisticated casino, they're probably saving themselves money by not backing off bad players, but they're also going to take the time to figure out, hey, is this guy worth backing off or not? And that might be a place where some cover plays might be more worth using. But in general, they see a big move in bets, or they just see someone winning and they say, oh, he must be an AP.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, there's so many people thrown out that have no chance. You know, they got a $20 an hour EV or something similar to that, and people go crazy just because the first thing they do when they teach these surveillance operators, they teach them, okay, what is the person counting, but not can that counter, you know, gain an advantage in the long run over the house. You know, a person who's counting correctly, but doesn't have a proper bet spread or makes basic strategy errors isn't a threat. And they just can't get that. So you're right. They're either going to throw you out or not. So you might as well go for it. I don't know if you watched it, but Willie Allison had his recent podcast he did about backing off card counters. It was very, very good. People in the audience, if you haven't seen it, you might want to take a look at it. But a card counter, professional level card counter, you're looking to get what, 1% advantage over the house?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's a very small margin, you know. And now you make a few errors, and you know you're down to a minuscule amount. So that's why, you know, there's very few professional level counters. And I'll tell you what, the ones of you that are could do some damage. You really could at the right place, you know. So what would you say, you know, where do you need to get at? You know, when would you say the person's ready to go?
Yeah, it's harder than probably the average person in your audience is aware. Perfect basic strategy all the time, perfect counting, perfect true count conversion, or you know, depending on what kind of count system you use, you got to have perfect bets and relatively perfect at the playing deviations, which are times that you don't follow basic strategy. Then on top of that, you got to have the emotional fortitude to bet properly, which I've trained plenty of people that they can do everything perfectly. They just don't have the guts to put the bets out there at the right time. And then on top of that, you got to like not quit once you go through a losing streak, which, you know, I probably would have done the same thing as you and given up on my first losing streak if I hadn't been a part of a team of people that encouraged me to, hey, keep grinding, keep putting in the hours. So there's a lot that it takes. I am training people that are legitimately making money at card counting, but for every one of them, there's got to be 1,000 wannabes that, you know, that are actually probably making casinos money. I'm not glad there's 1,000 wannabes. It's just the reality of the situation. People that see a video online or read a book and then think, oh, I'm going to go out there and do it. And they're far from a threat to a casino.
Well, I think it happened same during Rain Man and the movie 21 and The Hangover, and now with the social media going crazy with Steve Bridges, yourself, you know, I think it's renewed the interest in card counting to a level, and I would say I'm sure your business is robust, and it's some are going to make it, some aren't, but you know what? Hey, God bless them. I'm there. So let me talk about these programs that we use to detect you guys. Now, I'm not a big fan of all of them because there's a lot of flaws in them. So let's just say I come into a place and I get up a few $1,000s. I'm no more counter than the man in the moon. But if Joe Schmo's up there and he's got uh, virtual casino or something, he puts me down as a card carrier. Now everywhere I go, they're going to start throwing me out for no reason. And that's that. I think the person who puts that person into them sort of systems should know. I mean, they're a value to me because you see, I'll see Colin Jones, he's at Mohegan Sun, and then he's at Rivers Philly. And I can pretty well know that, hey, you're within 20, 30, 40 miles of me. I'm going to see you here anytime soon. And I'm sure, I'm not telling, listen, folks, if you're getting aggravated because I'm telling all our secrets, listen, these guys know that, okay? But I'm just explaining how it works. And so what I have noticed, Colin, and you don't have to verify this, but it seems like there's a lot more card counters running in pairs, maybe two or three, not team play, but they're moving around together. And I would guess that's a kind of a cooperative effort to try to maybe obtain more play time. One guy's disguised, one guy's not, or maybe it's just to save money, on expenses. I mean, going around the country and driving is tough. I am I wrong? Is there more people running than together?
Not that I mean, I think that's always been the case. When I was on a team, we would do a lot of going out in pairs, split a hotel room, split a rental car, and it just have someone. It's card carrying's hard, to have someone just to share a meal with at the end of the day or for breakfast or to commiserate about that time that you did everything right and the dealer still made their hand. So I think that's always been the case. I'm not aware that it's happening more than it used to, but it could just be, just in your region that there've been a increase in just people going in pairs.
And plus, the price of gas is bad too.
Yeah.
We were talking about there's not much cover play, and you were talking about once in a while, you'd even maybe wear a some kind of disguise, right? So I got a word of wisdom to the card counting community out there. If you're going to go Ken Houston on me, at least try to make the wig match your eyebrows. I've had two guys in the last month come in with horrible wig. I mean, horrible. For one thing, you're not going to wear a knit hat and 85 degrees in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's just not going to happen. Then the red hair with the brown eyebrows just don't get it. So anyway, let's go. I want to talk about the grind, the everyday grind. This is where I think people would get into trouble. And I going back to your comment about it would be better if you had somebody to talk to, and get, but you're on the road out there by yourself. It's tough. When I was trying to count, I was doing it all myself. And my wife at the time she wasn't interested in it. So, I mean, I'm talking to the cat, I'm talking to the dog, and that's the best I could do. But life on the road is hard, is it not?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I had a good friend of mine. He said, "Oh, my son said he's ready to count, ready to go out there." I said, "Okay, tell him before he does that, don't talk to his girlfriend for a month." I said, don't socialize with her, don't see her, don't do anything. If he can make that month, then maybe he's ready if he's got everything else down. But I'm thinking the back offs, and everybody talks about the back offs and all that. That's one thing. From what I see, at least in my world, it's always a professional experience both ways. Once in a while, a guy will say, "Well, why are you throwing me out?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, why am I throwing you out?" Okay, but anyway, the back offs, the casino food. That's what I'm thinking. Man, I can't take no more buffets, man. I just want somebody to cook a good meal for me. And Colin, I just gotta say, it's just amazing to think somebody can do that for any length of time.
Yeah, I think that's why there's a pretty high burnout rate. I did for a couple of years. I played over 1,000 hours a year for a couple of years there, and made more money doing it than I could have doing anything else at 23 years old. But yeah, it started to feel feel really like a grind. I think there's some cool things about it. You can see the road, or hit the road, see some different cities, have a fun story to tell, a good experience. But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. Between the travel, the swings, the back offs, the just being in casinos as many hours as you are, it seems like people generally tend to burn out after a couple of years.
Yeah, I have a good friend, Andy Yule, who wrote the book
Yeah,
Blackjack Insiders,
yeah.
and he was working. I worked with him in Mesquite, and he was a floor supervisor, and him and another ship manager. Of course, they went on the road and went to the dark side, for a while. So it was funny. It was about a year, maybe a year, 2, 3 months in. He calls me and he says, "Man, this is burning me out. I
Yeah,
haven't seen my son. He had a young son,
yeah.
and he said, I'm about ready to hang it up." He said, "Could you ain't shot by getting a job, will you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I said, "Let me know when it's all over, and we'll talk." So that his book was really. I thought it was a really good summary of what it's kind of like to be out there. So let's talk about Blackjack Apprenticeship. All right. So you have a vlog online, and you actually have a coursework online, a site where you can learn to count. And give us a little bit more of a preview of what it would be like if I wanted to join Blackjack Apprenticeship.
Yeah, I mean, there's just training and resources for people that want to take it seriously. We if you work for a casino, we're probably gonna figure you out and say like thank you, but we'll give you a full refund. But yeah, there's some people, it's kind of like a bucket list thing. They've heard about it. Maybe they heard about it and wanted to count cards 30 years ago, and now they're at a point, their kids are out of the house, they want to tackle this thing, and it's just a fun uh you know challenge. Other people, they're kind of what I was, where they're younger, they've got more time than anything else, and say like, hey, let me try to hustle at something. And so they learn the stuff and go hit the casinos for a bit. I think the thing that you know you can, if you get everything right, and that's what we really pride ourselves in doing, is helping people get everything right, information and the skills. Yeah, you can make some decent money at it. I think from a casino perspective, though, I did the math once. Our blackjack team that won $3.5 million, we cost the average casino in America each day less than their surveillance room's coffee budget. We're we're costing each casino like $2 a day, um, on average. And so, like, yeah, from an individual perspective, you can make good money compared to what casinos bringing in each day. I think there's this thought in the casino world that these card counters, they're taking our lunch. No, they're not. But so that's where the cat and mouse game comes from. From an individual perspective, yeah, you can make 20, 50, $100 an hour for a while. From a casino's perspective, you're probably costing yourself more money by giving bad deck penetration to every blackjack table in your casino than that one guy once a month that's going to come in and like generate that $100 an hour of EV.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I always tell people when I'm training, I said, I could go right now and cut every shoe in half, and the
Yeah.
card counting would be over.
Yeah.
I said, but I'll lose $8.5 million
Yes, exactly.
over the course of the year. So it isn't quite worth it. So now you got me intrigued. So
Yeah.
let me say I did come on your website, and you vetted out and try to see who's actually applying.
Yeah, we do the best we can. Could someone get through? Yeah, probably. But we do the best we can to keep it, and I've met really great people from the casino industry. Andy Yule, he's a friend of mine. Willie, he's great. I've met great people that have been dealers, floor supervisors, hosts, all the way up, surveillance operators. So, to me, it's not this like you're the bad guy, we're the good guy, or vice versa. But at the same time, we don't want, in the same way you don't want to give trade secrets to card counters, we don't want to give trade secrets to the casino industry.
So have you actually had somebody who tried to break in and learn what you was doing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've refunded memberships. We've removed people from our email list before. That we do what we can. I was getting, but you told the story of half shoeing. I want to tell you the last time I was in a casino. This was not very long ago, and I heard about a casino that there's some more advanced skills, blackjack skills, and I had heard through the grapevine of an exploitable game that had to do with the way that the game was shuffled. And I had a friend that had beaten it for pretty good day. I go there and they changed the shuffle. Um, the shuffle they changed it to, I was calculating it took an extra 2 minutes per shuffle, which means an extra 8 minutes per hour, times four tables in a pit. And the average bet at each table is about $100 a round, right? And if you're taking 8 minutes away per hour, at a 2% edge per player, that's $16 per table with four tables. Now we're talking $64 an hour. If those tables are open 14 hours a day, we're talking you're costing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every single day to counteract this guy that came in once, or maybe once every 3 months, someone that could come in and beat it for a few $100s an hour. To me, it was like, I was bummed because I was curious about it. But when I thought through the math of what the casino did out of this reaction, I thought it was pretty shocking.
Well, that's just the same as somebody putting their surveillance operator counting this guy down who's moving, 5 to 100,
Yeah.
and it's a max $300 game, and they're just wasting that operator. Wow, a porter is taking a case of Louis Trey out the door. So it amazes me. And you know what, I think like you do that. You know what, if I would like to make everybody think card counting is the greatest thing in the world, because for every, like you said, for every great person, every Bob Feller, there's other people that can't even get to the plate and hit a ball. So besides Blackjack Apprenticeship, you've written a couple books. 21st Century Card Counter, am I right with
Yep.
that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now you got a new one, right?
Yeah. So 21st Century Card Counter, that came out about 5 years ago. And it was just kind of like the approach that I teach, or me and my teams have used. It's like, kind of like you said, like the cover stuff. Some of that stuff just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I tried to put in some kind of like personal thoughts about the game. Like, when I got into card counting, it really was this, like, we're the good guy, the casino's the bad guy. And then from the casino perspective, we're the bad guy. I've been called all sorts of names and threatened and all that stuff, backroomed against my will. And like all that stuff, it's just bad for everyone, vice versa. I've done things I regret, how I've treated, casino people in tense situations. So I talked about that too. Like, hey, can we all take a chill pill and try to treat each other a little more human, and then everyone does a bit better. But that book came out 5 years ago. We have a new book called Tales from the Felt, and we created this less than a year ago. And the idea was to have 21 short stories from 21 different real professional blackjack players, and all the proceeds go to charity. So it's got Tommy Highland, it's got Richard Munchkin, it's got Max Rubin, myself and a bunch of other blackjack authors, and just really, really good people sharing some fun stories. And so if people are interested in what things are like from our side of the table, it's illustrated, and the stories are really fun, and all the money goes to help people affected by problem gambling.
Oh, that's a great cause. I can't wait to, you know what, I've been meaning to, every time I mean to go over and order that book, I forget. So tonight I'm going and actually order
Awesome.
that book off your website. And I encourage everybody to buy both books if you can. Colin, it's really been a treat. I'm sure we know a lot of people that, we're only 1 degree apart, like Don Johnson. I'm sure you know him. I could tell you some stories, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll be on Blackjack Apprenticeship
Yeah.
someday, and we'll talk about some of my stories.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you taking time and sharing your story on Be in the Know. And any final comments or words for the audience?
Yeah, I would just say, like I said, try to treat each other a little more human. And, I apologize if anyone's watching this, that I was kind of a jerk to you in a casino, I apologize. And, the people that have treated me well, even to say, look, we're not going to let you keep beating us, but treat me human. I appreciate it. And hopefully we can do more of that.
Oh, that's great. Great comment. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you on the next Be in the Know.